Week 4 of March rolled along and we welcomed back Mark and Sturla from Norway. Now these two guys hunted with us last year. This year they brought with them their friend Erik from Oslo, and their timing couldn't have been more perfect. The rut was in full swing. After picking these guys up from the airport, some good coffee, we were up at the range. We have a range half a mile from the lodge. We think it's really important that everyone gets the opportunity to see where their rifle's shooting, especially if you're using one of my shooters. Well, it's critical. You don't want any anxiety before your hunt begins. And these guys had, I don't know, 4 or 5 shots each. Everyone was happy. And then we went out for a look. That afternoon, we were high above one of our main valleys. We got to see 20 or 30 red deer, a couple of good stags were seen, and the guys indicated that it was going to be Erik's turn to hunt first. He'd been chosen, and we found a really nice stag and we hatched a plan right then and there for the following morning. It was a little bit drizzly, but the wind was good. We got down into some timber, we stalked in nice and early, and it was all happening. It was incredible. The stag had, I guess, 15 hinds, maybe more. There was 3 other stags trying to get in on the action. He had a couple of real hot hinds that he was in love with, and he was guarding them with his life. It was mayhem. Now, Erik had said to me that he wanted to shoot a stag sort of less than 300 yards. Well, our cover stopped at around 400, so we had to crawl the last 100. We got in there, we got set up. The stag was, I think it was about 320 yards away, but he wouldn't stop. He kept moving, he kept backwards and forwards, he was across the creek, he was roaring, he was behind trees, he just wasn't offering a shot. Finally, after about 15 minutes of patiently waiting, we all had a bit of stag fever running through us, and he came in, he stopped, he had his head slightly behind a tree, and Erik let him have it. At 310 yards, our little rifle that we had let him use performed perfectly. The bullet hit him right in the base of the neck and he hit the deck. He was down for the count. Wow, what a great start to the week. And we walked up to that stag, what a trophy. He had over 30 points, he had huge mass, he had massive crowns. Yeah, Erik was very happy. This was a great start. We couldn't have asked for a better beginning for a week's hunting.
A very good stag. By help of ample hunting, I get the best deer in my life. Very good red stag.
Now the second hunter up was Sturla. Now we had a stag that we'd been watching, we'd been sort of trying to work out what he was doing leading up to when these guys arrived. We had sort of noticed that he was quite a cagey animal, you know, we didn't see him a lot during the day, but he was always out first thing in the morning and sort of in the last hour of daylight he was always out there. He had a couple of hinds and we knew the patch of bush where he was living. We snuck him in and we had the most perfect view. We had this patch of bush right in front of us and we sort of thought, you know, anywhere where this stag is going to exit this little lair of his, we're going to be able to nab him. Well, we waited and waited, you know, I think we'd been there an hour and I got a little bit restless and I started to think, well, you know, maybe he's not here, maybe he carried on going. So I dropped down the ridge a little bit and I looked in and then I saw him. All you could see was his antler tops. He was sitting in a little hollow, he was sort of, I guess he was almost perfectly hidden. But unfortunately for him, I could see these 2 crowns. Instantly I recognised them as the stag we'd seen that morning. I signalled to the guys, they came on down, we got set up. All we needed to do was wait for him to stand up. It was only 200 yards and we just waited, I guess, 25 minutes. The stag, all of a sudden, he got up. He stood up, had a bit of a shake, he wiggled his antlers, and that was his final act. Stula lined him up, put that bullet right on the shoulder where it's supposed to go. The stag did a couple little pirouettes and he was down for the count. What a great shot and what a great stag. We walked up to him and there was no ground shrinkage. He was beautiful. He was well coloured up from rubbing in the bush. He had beautiful coloured antlers. He had beautiful big sweeping brown tines. He had a massive set of crowns and 20 beautiful long honest points. What a superb trophy. And Stula was our second happy hunter and it was only day 2. What a great start to the week. Now from there we headed up to the mountain, and you know, we go up here from time to time and it's always a great day. There's a lot of stags, there's a lot of deer up there.
Well, we should get down on that ridge and take them out when they get to the other bank. All right, let's go.
We were overlooking a nice big sort of a big basin, if you like, and there was a number of good stags there, but the one in particular that caught Mark's eye was an absolute monster. He had, I think, only 6 on one side and 7 on the other, but he was incredibly heavy, incredibly big, and Mark said, yeah, I think I want to shoot that stag. He's definitely the master. So we snuck on a little bit further. Mark dropped his shooting sticks down, he got his rifle ready. Now it's important to note here that Mark uses a Lazzaroni rifle in 8.9 Titan caliber. This thing is a cannon. It shoots a 250 grain Accubon. Oh man, it's an incredible rifle. Now we were, I guess, just over 200 yards from the stag. Mark got set up, he waited for his opportunity, he squeezed the trigger. Again, the shot was absolutely perfect. In the base of the neck, the stag was absolutely flattened. I mean, that rifle just about lifted the stag off his feet. He was down, the deer all took off, There were deer we hadn't even seen that came out the woodwork underneath us, and 2 or 3 other nice stags were seen fleeing the scene. It was incredible. Now this stag was a beauty. He was 6'7", he was only a silver medal stag, but what an absolute ripper. You know, Mark was pretty happy, and what a beautiful trophy.
BJ, thank you.
And boy was he heavy. We had a big day slogging that animal out of that hill. Let me tell you that right now. We had some fun getting out of there, but it was worth it. Now the final day of the hunt, we were about to hang up our gear and kick back and relax, but Mark wanted another stag. You know, he wanted another real big gold stag. So we headed out onto the other side of the property. We hadn't hunted here at all this season. It's a beautiful spot. There's bush on your right, there's bush on your left, there's this big leading ridge, and there's always a stag over there. There's always deer to be seen, and there's usually a good stag there. Now, we got into position and we heard 2 stags roaring. We thought, well, that sounds like a mature stag, so we just waited. Finally, with I guess about 25-30 minutes of light left, up he came. And what a monster. He had antlers full of vines. He'd been in the bush raking all the vines out of the trees. He'd been ripping these vines out, and he had them all stuck in his antlers. He was even dragging a vine behind him. What a mess. It must have been a real nuisance. And you know, I can only describe this stag as an absolute beast. He was huge. And then he did what we all hate. He turned and he started walking away from us. He walked and he walked and he walked. We didn't even know whether he was going to stop. You know, he got to about, I guess, 310, 315 yards, and I looked at Mark and I said, look, take him when he stops. And, you know, with, I don't know, 15 minutes of daylight left on the last night, he only needed another 20 or 30 yards and he was going to disappear into the bush again. You know, this hunt was a cliffhanger. You know, we were all getting nervous, we all had a little bit of stag fever, and, you know, my stomach, it felt like a hovercraft full of eels. I was, you know, it was a real cliffhanger. It was kind of cool. And you know, Mark's sitting there. He's pretty cool. He wasn't showing a lot of emotion, and he was continuously ranging the stag. Now this stag got out, and he was, I think, 355, 360 yards away. He was partly hidden in some trees, and he came out. He stopped, and he offered the first perfect broadside opportunity. He tilted his head back, he was halfway through a roar, and Mark nailed him. Right in the shoulder. You know, that stag did a couple of little turns and he was gone. He was down, he was rolling in the trees, he was history.
God, it was a quick shot. Very good shot. It was a quick shot. I'm fucking shaking.
Wow, what a hunt. What an epic way to finish the week. Man, we had so much fun. This is an undescribable week of hunting, and you know, it's something we'll never forget. It was terrific.
Look at this fucking thing here.